Hello everyone, Solomon AD here. I've been getting questions after that live stream I did with Orly Stewart and JD Temple. And by the way, I do have like some piano music in the background. I'm gonna test this taking videos while listening to music. Also doing some computer work, so I don't want it to screw up with the sound or anything, but um, yeah. So I'll see how it comes out. Anyways, Santa Muerte. I got a lot of questions regarding the central question is like, what is she? Somebody asked like, why I consider her a demon. I consider her more than just that, because the historical proof, the traditions that follow her, the traditions from which she originates from, and then the traditions in which she has been integrated into suggest these things. Um, where does she come from? She comes from the Aztec uh, goddess of the underworld, wife of the husband. Uh, she's wife to Mictlantecutli, which is the male ruler of the underworld. Mictlantecutli, and he corresponds to the Mayan death god. And then the male and female aspect of the two reflect are complementary. They're identical as far as anthropologists are concerned. And me, energetically, I would say they're identical as well because I work with the Mayan underworld god, the chief one, and they're male female counterparts. They match up with the Mayan male female counterparts, as well as the kind of fusion god that they make in their respective mythologies. So, as far as the ancient peoples of Guatemala were concerned, that these people, or sorry, these gods, were demons. I worship Saizen, who is the chief devil of the underworld, Xibalba in the Mayan pantheon, as a demon. And by the church's standards, obviously, like everything's a demon, right? If it's not, Jesus or God, right? And even a lot of angels are up for scrutiny as far as the church is concerned. So you have that kind of belief influencing that as well. However, that we know, as a cultist, it's like not. It's just a bunch of BS and stuff like that. But do consider it for a second, just to like kind of evaluate what kind of spiritual species she is. So, as far as where she actually originates from, which is the Mexica and the Mayan, um, respectively, religions and cultures, she was considered a demon. Was treated like one, was given human sacrifices as one, animal sacrifices, all the offerings. So, you get. So, in the ancient traditions, she was. Fast forward to Catholicism, she gets a revamped kind of treatment. The synchronization, a very similar thing happened with the Yoruba Orishas from the Ifa religions. So Santeria, you have Chango, who corresponds to Santa Barbara, and you can actually substitute pretty much a image of that saint and call it Chango too. And then there's various like Elewa like Saint Anthony and stuff like that, and so that kind of synchronization happened. So actually, that's where a lot of the compassionate side of Santa Muerte comes from. I actually did not get to touch on this in the podcast. It comes from the Lady of Guadalupe. She's given a dark spin on that. So she has a saintly energy. So in a way, she is a saint. So there are people that consider her purely a saint. That's not wrong, but it is incorrect in this sense because she is a saint. She is. She has that saintly energy that has been placed upon her through the consciousness of hundreds, maybe and thousands of people over the past several hundred years. You're going to tell me it's not functional in the occult? It is. We know it is because of what chaos magic has more or less proven. You can't prove it, but the tendencies that have correlated through time. So she has a saintly energy from the Catholic culture that has placed it upon her over a lot of time. And it's a group of people, it's a group consciousness that has done that. We know that she is a demon because even more people than who worship Santa Muerte, you're talking about millions of people now in the past, whether it's the Mayans and the Mexica / Aztecs, millions of people upon human sacrifices and stuff. So she is a demon lord. Now, it doesn't mean she was unworthy of worship. The thing is that the indigenous peoples of America treated their sky gods, which would constitute as angelic, and their underworld gods, constitute as demons. They worship both of them. Now, you had city-states that prioritized some more than others, but we know this from the archaeological evidence, and I've been there. I've been to Belize where they sacrificed things to Saizen and the lords of Xibalba in the caves, and then they had a temple not too far away for Itzamna, the creator god, who would correspond very much to celestial forces in the Western pantheons. So we know that they venerated both. So that is the demon connection, and I told you the Catholic saint connection. So there was something else that somebody was talking about, another connection. I want to say that, so she has that saintly energy. I would not say that she's an angelic force, but the Catholic saints, if you ever worked with them, they have their own kind of current that is it's related to the angelic. And then it was the other thing was, she's a pre-Columbian god in disguise. She carries that same kind of current, but it's mostly through she was pagan god with a demonic flair in that sense of the word. So you can work with her as really all three, but I would work with her in the amalgamated state that she is in. So if you have a Santissima Muerte statue filled with all the hoodoo items, just like we saw if just go back and watch the live stream I did with Orly and JD, work with her as if she is all three, because those are the energy currents that she has. I just do recommend that you work with her in a similar fashion that the people that where the originated practice comes from, or where those people have migrated to, because there's there's power in that, so I recommend a more traditional looking statue. You don't have to work. There are systems. There are an actual system that you can find. There's documentaries on it, where they have villages in Mexico that actually have kind of a tradition and a system how to work with her. But there's also a tradition and a system that is that migrated to America because of Mexican immigrants, and they would mix with the impoverished African American communities. And what did the African American communities have? Here they had hoodoo, and then the West African religions. So if you go into Latino neighborhoods, right, and you go to botanicas, you're going to find Santissima Muerte next to Catholic saints, and you'll find her next to African Orishas. She is not an African Orisha, but she can work kind of alongside them, but she's not in their pantheon. So I would not call on her in the same ritual I would call on Elegua or Ogun or any of the Orishas. I wouldn't even call upon her really if I was mixing saints in the same ritual. She has a saintly energy. You can consider her a saint, but I really wouldn't recommend having her work with San Judas or anything like that. Because she is kind of a strange intermediary between them all. Or she walks a fine line, a very controversial line, but it can be compassionate. It can, and she can do pretty much anything. She's kind of an all-arounder as far as her functionality goes. So, have at it. If you got any questions, leave them in the description below. I will note that, it's for 10 years my family worked with Santa Muerte. We no longer work with her. There's a long story behind that. It's not because we have a problem with her or anything like that. It's just the focus of my family's practice shifted. Now Saizen very much is. Saizen is our death god. Saizen is our personal devil of my family, and he benefits us. And really, Saizen comes from the same current that Santa Muerte does, and our belief system suggests that Saizen is a superior of Santa Muerte. And if you look, I could go into a whole nother video why. There's historical, archaeological correspondences to why that is. But they work with the same current. They both come from Mictlan or Metnal in the Mayans. So there you go. But Santa Muerte in a nutshell. May that serve you well.